Hello and welcome to the Game Lore Archives. So far we've covered the events of the Dawn, Merethic and First eras. So now it's time to move on to the events of the Second era. The First era ended in turbulent times. In 2920 of the First era, the Morag Tong successfully assassinated Raymond III. No one knows for certain who hired the assassin, but Raymond's personal steward,
a Tanishi named Versidue Shay,
seems a likely culprit. As soon after the Emperor's death, he declares he's the new leader of the Empire, becoming a potentate,
which means the acting ruler.
And his first act was declaring an end of the First era.
Although many people were troubled by being ruled by a Tanishi, is it Taneshi? Tanishi?
I thought it was Saeshi. I thought you didn't say the T, to be fair.
Maybe. Saeshi? Who knows? We've never been good at pronunciation here.
No. I don't think it's ever been said in game either, so...
No, but the other things that haven't been said in games, we've got comments against.
True.
So I'm going to go with Saeshi. That's fine.
Okay. We'll write it up.
Yeah. He actually did a lot of good for the Empire, and maybe all of Tamriel, no matter how weird his name is pronounced. The first couple of centuries went by with relative peace across Nirn. Pontate versus Say, in the 230th year of the Second Era, made the Guild Act, which allowed guilds legally to start. This led many guilds being started, the first of which being the Mages Guilds. Obviously, the Thilves Guild and the Dark Brotherhood were not sanctioned as part of this act. However, it would appear that they began around the same time, so they probably, copied the idea.
After this act was passed, the Pontinate then tried to expand the empire. In the 283rd year, he starts this by declaring martial law throughout Tamriel.
And this is also around the time where the Elder Scrolls Travel mobile game Dawnstar occurs.
With martial law in effect, he then wipes out all private armies and forbids each town's ruler from having their own army. Instead, they are all incorporated into the Imperial Legion. This might have been good for winning wars, however it wasn't good for the civilians. With no one to protect them, thieves and bandits ran wild. To stop this happening, a new guild was founded in the 320th year of the Second Era. This guild was named the Scyphim. The volunteers intended to act as a hired army to protect the provinces. These would eventually become the Fighters Guild that we know today. Just 3 years after its founding, in year 324, the Morag Tong strikes again, killing the Pontinate Versidue Shay. Oh, I did have to say it in the end.
You probably will, he's in the next few episodes.
And a new Pontate named Saverin Chorak takes the throne.
Saverina Chorak rules for 106 years, which shows just how long Saneshi can live for. Until him and all of his heirs are also killed. This marks the end of the Second Empire. The Cyrodiilic crown is left until it is taken by Reachmen, which are referred to as Longhouse Emperors, in a few years. These Reachmen will legalise the worship of Daedra, and while this happens in Cyrodiil, Morrowind starts to face their own troubles. The Kamal of Akaviri start to invade Morrowind, and knowing that help will be needed, Vivek calls on the aid of the Nords and the Argonians. The Kamal are defeated, and Vivek promises to stop Argonian slavery as thanks. This is the birth of the Ebonheart Pact. The Daggerfall Covenant also starts around this time, thanks to a smooth-talking merchant.
Maybe as he saw how unstable the new rulers of Cyrodiil were.
Very possibly. Things got so bad that Duke Varin Aquirilos of Coral starts a rebellion over the Longhouse Empire and wins. He declares himself a new emperor. Unfortunately, he is led to believe by Manimarco that if he can get the Amulet of Kings, he will be made Dragonborn. He starts a quest with 5 companions to gain the amulet and succeeds.
However, as we all know, Duke Varin is not made into a Dragonborn. Manimarco uses the amulet's power to create a soul burst. This breaks the ancient covenant placed by Akatosh that sealed Nirn away from the Oblivion Realms. It's at this point that the plane meld starts, and huge anchors begin pulling Nirn into Cold Harbour.
which, as I'm sure you know, means that this is the events of the Elder Scrolls Online and when they happen.
Just as this starts, just before the game's opening, Irene, the long-lost princess of Alinor, returns and is crowned queen. She forms the Altmiri Dominion that same year.
The plane meld and whatever happens in the Morrowind DLC, which hadn't been released at the time of writing this script, lasts for roughly 2 years. The effects of the Three Banner Wars last a little longer until Talos changes his name to Tiber Septim and begins his conquest of Tamriel. It is around this time that Elder Scrolls Adventures, the Redguard game, happens, and eventually in the 895th year of the Second Era, Tiber Septim manages to conquer all of Tamriel with the aid of the dwarf's construct Numidium. He unites Tamriel into one empire and brings peace to the land. As he is crowned emperor, his first act is to begin a brand new era, meaning that this one's fairly short. And that is the second era. We will be going into more detail as we have with every single other overview. So thanks for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe, like the video, leave a comment if there's anything you want to chat about, and check out the Patreon page.